Well, hello and welcome to Kuma's Kitchen. What I've made myself here today is a loaf of brandied date and walnut bread, and to go with it, I've made a batch of brandied cream cheese spread. So I'm going to take some of that bread, still nice and warm from the oven, get a little bit of the spread on here. Oh, and yeah. Got the crunch of the walnuts in there. All right, the dates, a little bit of molasses. Oh, and then you got that yeah, in the beard and everything. Cream cheese spread on top. Very good. Let's go in the kitchen and make it right now. All right, so here we've got the ingredients for our loaf, and across the front, we've got just a dash of salt. That's like basically like 2 pinches of salt, half a teaspoon of baking soda. Now, the baking soda the baking soda helps to soften up the dates. It's going to go in with the dates and the brandy at the beginning, help to soften up those dates. Then I've got 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I've got 1 egg. I've got a 1/4 cup of molasses. I love molasses. Over here, I've got a 1/4 cup of butter, and I've just cut that into pieces so it'll melt quicker because it's going to be added to the hot dates later on. Then the dates. This is 1.5 cups of dates. That comes out to about 8 ounces or 230 grams, so 1.5 cups of chopped dates, not big dates. I should say that again. 1.5 cups of chopped dates. Over here, 1 cup, no, 3/4 of a cup, sorry, 3/4 of a cup of smallish walnut pieces. Not really small, just walnut pieces. Over here, 1.5 cups of flour, and then 1 cup of brandy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to soften up those dates. So I'm going to put the brandy into a small pot. I'm going to add the dates. And then I'm going to sprinkle in that baking soda, not the baking powder, the baking soda. And then we need to stir it. Give that just a little stir around. Get that baking soda throughout. Should get the dates all down into the brandy. What I want to do now is I want to heat up that brandy, but I don't want to boil it. I don't want to boil off the alcohol, right? So I just want to bring it up. Good and hot. So I'm going to give it a little flame here. Now, as soon as that comes up, just before it boils, just wants to, like the bubbles maybe start up here in the corners. Before it does, I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to put a lid on there. Going to let that sit for 30 minutes or half an hour. I just want the walnuts, the dates to be soaking in that brandy for a good half an hour, softening up, absorbing some of the brandy, and then we'll be back to mash them up. I'll see you then. All right, that's been sitting for about half an hour with the lid on. Should still be a bit warm. It is good because we want it warm so it's going to melt the butter. If not, you can always just put it on a very low heat, bring that temperature up a little bit. Just put that off to one side right now. Bring this out here. All right, so look in here. It's soaked up some of the brandy, and definitely the dates are a little softer now. I can feel that there. Now, I can use a fork for mashing, but I like to use this. This is my, it's kind of like a half wooden spoon fork, because I don't want to really mark up the inside of my pot. So I'm going to add that butter in. That butter is at room temperature, so it's going to melt nicely. Let's put that off to one side. And then just going to start, just like making mashed potatoes in a way. Mash the butter into here. And what I want to do is I want to mash up the, mash up the dates, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want a coarse mash up. So softening them up, getting that butter in there at the same time. and I'm basically crushing up the dates, but still leaving some pieces of dates in there to be in our bread. So that's going to take a couple of minutes of just mashing away until we get it nice and, well, not nice and smooth, but a little smooth. That's looking pretty good. We still got good chunks in there, but kind of got like a date juice throughout the brandy. That's great. I'm going to add in the walnuts now. So put that off to one side. Just mix those in there. So that's got all those ingredients together. Now let's put that off to one side while we get the dry ingredients together. So I've got here, I've got my flour. I'm going to add in the baking powder and the salt. Give that a little mix up. And now I'm going to grab a bigger bowl and a whisk. Crack the egg in here. I just want to give that egg a good whisking. Add in the molasses. Okay, we got most of that. Yeah. I do love molasses. So glad we can get it. You know, when I first came here, it was really hard to get molasses. I had to go all the way to Kobe to get molasses because I couldn't get any in Osaka. But now I can get it at my local Sage Oishi import store. All right, so I mix that in there. Now let's add the rest of the wet ingredients, which would be our dates and butter, brandy, and walnuts. Get all that in there. Put that off to one side for right now. Get that a little mix around. Get that all mixed together nicely. All right, now it's going to mix the dry into the wet. So away we go. Okay, once we got all the dry mixed into the wet, we are good to go. What I've got over here, let's get you off to one side. What I got over here is I've got a 4x8 or 8x4 pound cake loaf pan. Pound loaf pan? A pound cake pan. And I've done is I've lined it with wax paper. And what I always do is butter it and then get the paper in there so the butter acts like glue, you know, temporary glue to hold the wax paper in place. This is definitely my least favorite part of making any of these things, is getting that paper in there just right. So if somebody comes up with the kind of loaf pan like the springform cake pan, something that just really everything pops out of it perfectly, well, I'd be happy to promote it here on Kuma's Kitchen. So if you got that, hey, get a hold of me. We'll put it on the show. All right, so what I do now is just get all the ingredients in to here. Just got to work it down into the corners. Just keep adding it and working down. Just want to kind of give it a little push, push, push to get down into the corners so you don't end up with big empty spots there. And get it all in there. All right. Smells like gingerbread in here just about. Not the spices, but just that molasses smell in the air. All right. Let's get the rest of that off there. Now, when I got this all smoothed out, this is going to go into the oven over there. 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius for about an hour. What I want to do is I want to take it out about the 1 hour mark, maybe just a little bit before, depending on your oven, how hot it is, and just give it the toothpick test. Or I like to use a skewer, actually. Toothpick's kind of short, so the skewer test. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to come back here, probably a little bit less than an hour because my oven does run a bit warm. And we're going to get a skewer, run it in there, make sure that we're getting, we're not getting wetness, so we're getting just some nice crumbs on our skewer. And that will show us that this is ready to go. All right, you can see that. I got a nice smoothed out top. All right, so it's going to go in the oven. I'll see you back here in an hour. That's looking pretty good. Let's take a skewer, stick it in there and see how we do. It feels good and solid going in. Yeah. Okay, so that was an hour in the oven at 350 or 180. What I'm going to do now is put that off to one side, let that cool a little bit. So we're going to make a little spread to put on this, to eat with it. So what I've got here for the spread, just put that out there. Well, across the front, I've got a half a cup of icing sugar. Over here, I've got a 1/4 cup of butter at room temperature. It's pretty warm in here today, so it's quite soft. And then I've got 6 ounces or 170 grams of cream cheese, also sitting at room temperature, and a 1/4 cup of brandy. All right, so I'm going to get a slightly bigger bowl, and let's get the cream cheese in here. And let's get that butter in there too. Just going to cream it all together. All right, a little bit of butter left there. Okay. All right, so that's ready to go. Start creaming that. All I do is just want to cream the butter into the cream cheese, get it all nice and soft. Like that. All right, once it all comes together, it's looking pretty good right now. Well, time to start mixing that brandy in there. It's going to take a little bit more work to get that to go in, but that's okay. Just keep going around and mixing it until it all gets nice and smooth. There we go, starting to come together already. Alright. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So now, in goes the icing sugar. Yeah, you can do a little bit of time. I'm going to toss it all in there. And away we go. And just mix that around. Okay, there we've got a brandied cream cheese spread to go with our brandied date and nut bread, date and walnut bread. All right, so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put that in a small bowl and chill it for a bit. Well, let's do that right now. I've got a nice little bowl here like this. Look at that. This is really good looking. So what I'm going to do, just put that in there. Look a lot nicer than just having it in this big bowl, and make it easier. Yeah, I know. We got to do it, Doc. Yeah, that's good. All right, so I'm going to put it in a small bowl like this. something that's nice to serve it from. That's going to go in the fridge to be chilled. Just pull that out of there. Start cooling a bit faster this way. Like that. Let it cool down a bit. Get that off. I think that's still a little hot. So, all right. Gonna let that cool just a little bit, but not too much, because that's going to be pretty good, nice and warm. I'm going to chill that. The minute that's chilled, cut myself a slice of that, put a little bit out in there, and it's going to be delicious. Smells great. All right. If you like this recipe for brandied date and walnut bread, well, stick around. There's a lot more interesting recipes. They're all original Kevin Riley recipes here on Kuma's Kitchen. Also, make sure that you subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss the new ones coming out every week. And if you'd like to become a patron for Kuma's Kitchen, there's a link down below. Come join us in the Patreon feed and all the other stuff that we do there. And now go and make this and make cooking fun again with Kuma's Kitchen.